G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and in this episode of Getting Started in the Horus Heresy, Part 3 for the Raven Guard. Now the Raven Guard are yet another legion who have basically nothing in the rulebook. They have their Primarch. Both the special characters are Legacy's PDF characters. Both those characters lack models. One of those characters is good, the other is not. So, Moritat Prime Kaitis Nex. He is the good one. He is a Moritat who's been dialed up to 11. He has a ton of special rules like Stubborn, Rampage, Move Through Cover, Pathfinder, Shrouded. Not that Pathfinder means too much on him. Ill-Omened, he can never be taken as a compulsory HQ or join squads other than Seeker and Mordathan, which is a bit of an odd choice because being a Moritat you think, could join Destroyers, but no, he cannot. But his big thing is that he has this insane deployment ability and comes with these two, essentially 6-shooter pistols. They have decent range on them if you choose that profile, or a short range, even better profile. And he just gets to fight 6 shots. There's none of this like pistoliers, roll every time you roll a hit, you get another hit type thing, or get to roll for another hit on normal Moritats. No, it's just straight out, this is what you're getting. And I quite like him. Very good in Decapitation, Strike, Rite of War. But yeah, finding the best way to utilize him and get your points back can be difficult. My personal choice when I use him is just to use him to murder some squad off an objective, and because just this lone character sneaking around the edge of the battlefield, he tends to get ignored a lot until he starts dishing damage and then people realize he's a threat. And that was actually a trick I learned with basic Moritats in Heresy 1.0. I used to take one in my Nemesis chapter Ultramarines, and I had a jump pack boy with a couple of Phosphex bombs, Melter bombs, and two Volkites. And he was phenomenal. And so Kaitis Nex very much does the same thing. He just moves a bit slower. Then we get to Strike Captain Alvarex Morn. Now, Alvarex Morn is supposed to be like the head of like all the deep striking stuff in the Legion, essentially. And the way they represent this is by giving him a terrible stat line and war gear. Solid move. Because you're essentially getting a Legion Centurion. And not even a good one. You don't even have an invulnerable save. So, hey, 2+ armor save, good, but one, bad hit and he's just done. Even power axes, for example, they'll get wounds through. There's nothing you can do about it. All he's armed with, for example, is a power sword. He does technically have a ranged war gear, but he doesn't even have decent ranged war gear. We're talking bolt pistol level ranged war gear. He doesn't even have a bolt gun. So yeah, his main thing is that when you deep strike in any deep strike assault he's a part of, you get to reroll for units to come on as a part of that assault. And once he's on the table, he reduces scatters by 5 inches as long as the target point of the deep strike is within 12 inches of him. It's not very good for the amount of points you're paying and to use up a HQ slot. You're better off just taking like a stock Master of Signals or something. Yeah, he was really good in Heresy 1. He had this 24-inch aura of no scatter deep strike. It was really solid. And it was a good trade-off for his negatives. In this edition, you don't even have that. So avoid at all costs. Then we get to Corax, and Corax is really, really good at some things. He is the kind of guy that you can send into a close combat and he will absolutely slaughter stuff that is in power armor, something not multiple wound stuff. So he has essentially souped up Lightning Claws, funny enough, as his close combat weapons. And the downside of them is his strength. And his strength is only 6. So AP2 at initiative with Shred, Blind, and Two-Handed. Okay, he's got 7 attacks base. And when you charge, you can up your abilities by choosing Murderous Strike 4+, or you can use Rage, or you can use Sudden Strike. Well, Rage and Sudden Strike are only going to come into play on the turn you charge, so neither of those is going to be a long-term use. But Rage on the charge going up to 12 attacks, potentially 11, 12 attacks. Very, very solid. You can absolutely murder squads of power armor. Even stuff that has 5+ invul saves, like breaching squads and such, he will do it. And the Murderous Strike will come in handy if you're taking on, say, lots of Terminators. But remember, with Cataphracti Terminators, it's 1 in 2 wounds is going to actually get through. And how many of those Murderous Strikes are, well, let's do some basic maths. So if you strike with 11 attacks, you're going to get somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 9 hits. Of that 8 to 9 hits, you're probably going to get around 7 wounds. Of the 7 wounds that you cause, 3, best case 4 of them are going to be Murderous Strike. Of those 4, 2 of them are going to get saved, 2 of them are going to get through. End result is probably going to be 2 to 3 dead Terminators from 11 Primarch attacks. Contrast that with someone like Ferrus Manus, who, if he goes in, every single attack that hits and wounds is guaranteed pretty much a dead Terminator, because he is doing Brutal 3. And again, when it comes to Primarchs, you have to stack them up against other Primarchs. Corax is consistently overvalued in points by Games Workshop Forge World. They've done this for 2 editions now. He doesn't have the strength and hitting power long term. Now, what he is very good at, not to make it all sound bad, is that he is fast. Because he has essentially that jump pack, he is able to move around the battlefield, and he's one of the few models that if you use him correctly, he will get his points back. That is what is great about him as a Primarch. But if you throw him into anything that has any level of resistance, Terminators, another Primarch, that kind of thing, you're done, you're cooked. Okay? It was someone like Vulcan in the previous episode. He was bad, and he was bad in ways that you couldn't mitigate. Okay? You needed to do things like pay for expensive transports and bodyguards of Vulcan. You don't need to do that with Corax. You can use his jump pack, leap forward, hide behind a piece of terrain, and just do that until you get yourself into a great position. So, Corax is a better Primarch in that regard. But yeah, there are some Primarchs like Corax who, if you end up in a challenge against some serious competition, you are going to die. And there is nothing, no matter how good a player, there is nothing you can do about it. You are just going to be annihilated. And that really sucks for him. Yeah, if Corax goes up against someone like Ferrus Manus is just, oh god, he's going to do things to Corax. Because Corax has got a lot more attacks to throw at him. But when 50% of your attacks hit, and you're probably going to wound with 2/3 of them because of the lightning core shredding aspect. Yeah, in round 2 of the combat, you're going to do a bit better because of the blinding. You might be able to pull off the blinding. But yeah, Primarch dueling's never a great idea, guys, but some do it worse than others, and he's one of them, because I can see him dying in the first round against Ferrus. If Ferrus can get even 4 of his attacks to wound Corax, that's 12 4+ armor saves that Corax has to make. And, well, he's only got 6 wounds, so on average he will fail the exact right amount in the first round of close combat to be instant killed by Ferrus Manus. Yeah, that's a terrifying thought, isn't it? And the last little thing Corax has, obviously, he's got his 2 little pistols, pew pew pew. They're Architect pistols, kind of. Strength 6, AP 4, Rending 3+, Deflagrate for some reason. Mastercrafted, which is neat. You're going to hit because he is Ballistic Skill 6 with Mastercrafted. So 2s followed by 6s, followed by a reroll of 2s and 6s if you fail to hit. So very good chances of hitting. When he does join a unit, you're going to get D6 for your hit and run moves, additional, which is nice. It's going to keep you out of danger a little bit. And you get to reroll Shrouded rolls of a 1 until the following turn. But the problem is, he's a Primarch, he's fearless, and they changed the rules of the game where shrouding no longer affects fearless units. Therefore, you can go fuck yourself, because the rule is now useless. And, of course, that's basically Corax in a nutshell. Loyalist Primarchs, especially Corax Vulcan, they copped it. You can tell where Forge World sunk their resources into writing good legions and units and rules, and where they thought that what worked in 1.0 will clearly work in 2.0, or they played a very limited set of test games, and those test games reaffirmed whatever opinion they came to. Like maybe Raven Guard, for example, they played a game where they took a heap of Dark Furies, and those Dark Furies made across the table and successfully pulled off an awesome assault from Deep Strike and shredded through everything. And then they went, oh, well, clearly this means the Raven Guard overall are overpowered. And they just didn't think it through further than that point. I don't know. But regardless, it is what it is. And we have to live with it. And that's what we're doing in these episodes. We're talking about the pros, the cons, and unfortunately, the last two Legions, when it comes to characters, is almost all cons. But, you know, there is two little gems in there. And one is Corax will get his points back. And that Kaitis Nex is a murderer, which is great. Anyway, back to the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching this episode. And I'll see you all on the next one.